Welcome back to the Deep Dive. Today, we're tackling an artist whose career is, well, anything but straightforward. We're diving into Rickie Lee Jones.
Yeah, Rickie Lee Jones, born back in '54, Chicago, and her career. It's now hitting 5 decades, 15 studio albums.
15. And the thing is, you can't just draw a straight line through them, can you?
Not at all. It's zigzags, loops, sharp turns. Our mission today really is to unpack that, to figure out why she's seen as just so individual, so eclectic among singer-songwriters.
Okay, so let's start there. Eclectic. It's almost an understatement. The minute you start listening, you realize trying to pin down a genre is kind of pointless.
Completely. She pulls from rock, R&B, pop, soul, definitely jazz.
But it's not like she just dabbles. She embodies these things, then moves on.
Right. And the critics picked up on this early. AllMusic, I think, really nailed it. They called her, hang on. Yeah, an expressive and smoky instrument and a composer who can weave jazz, folk, and R&B into songs with a distinct pop sensibility.
That word weave is key, isn't it? It's not just throwing styles together.
Exactly. It's integration. She makes something new out of those threads.
And the industry kept noticing, even when she wasn't exactly chasing hits. 2 Grammys, 8 nominations total.
And, for context, VH1 ranked her number 30 on their 100 Greatest Women in Rock and Roll list. That was back in '99.
So she's got that historical cred, but she's not just a legacy act.
Not even close. Her latest album, Pieces of Treasure, from just last year, 2023.
Right, the one focusing on the Great American Songbook.
Yeah. And it got her another Grammy nomination, her 8th, for Best Traditional Pop Vocal Album.
That really says it all, doesn't it? Nearly 50 years in, still getting nominated, and in a category like traditional pop, after starting out with this unique kind of beatnik rock jazz thing.
That versatility is just, wow, it's incredibly rare.
So if her music is this complex blend, where does that DNA come from? We need to go back, right, to her roots.
Absolutely. You have to look at her family. She was the third of 4 kids, born to Richard and Betty Jones.
And named after her father, Richard.
Yes. And Richard Jones wasn't, an accountant. He was a singer, a songwriter, a painter, a trumpet player, a creative soul.
You can see the line right there.
Instantly. The multi-talented, maybe slightly restless artist thing, it's inherited.
And then there's the contrast with her mother, Betty, raised in orphanages in Ohio.
Yeah, quite a different background. So you have this childhood environment, probably full of artistic expression from her dad, but maybe also this undercurrent of searching, instability, reflecting her mom's upbringing.
They lived in Phoenix mostly during her formative years, ages 4 to 14.
Right, but moved around a bit even then. That troubadour thing, that sense of being on the move, it probably started really early.
But the performance style, the theatricality, the way she tells stories and songs, that goes back even further, doesn't it?
Oh, yeah. Straight back to vaudeville. Her paternal grandfather, Frank Peg Leg Jones.
Peg Leg Jones, what a name.
Isn't it great? He and her grandmother, Myrtle Lee, were Chicago-based vaudevillians.
And his act explains so much about Rickie Lee's presentation later on.
Totally. He was a singer, dancer, comedian, played the ukulele, did soft shoe, acrobatics, comedy routines, a real all-around entertainer.
So when you hear those early tracks, like Coolsville, or even the conversational bits in Chucky's in Love.
It clicks, right. It's not just folk storytelling. It's got that stagecraft, that character work, that almost musical theater feel. That's Peg Leg's legacy in her work.
And she really dives into all this in her memoir from 2021, Last Chance Texaco, Chronicles of an American Troubadour.
Essential reading, absolutely. And that title.
From the song.
Yeah, The Last Chance Texaco, which itself got a Grammy nomination way back in 1980. The memoir connects the dots, the transient, artistic, sometimes difficult childhood, and the very specific, stylized art she created. You see how the life shaped the music.
Okay, let's shift gears. Fast forward to the mid-'70s. California. Coffee houses. And then, boom, stardom.
Right. So, 1975, she's 21, living in Venice, California, singing in bars, coffee houses, doing jazz standards, remember the vaudeville roots, but also her own stuff.
And this is where she starts collaborating.
Yeah, she meets Alfred Johnson. They co-write some key tracks for her debut, like Weasel and the White Boys Cool and Company.
And then comes the meeting that became legendary. The Troubadour, 1977 Elf. Tom Waits.
Ah, yes, Tom Waits. A whole chapter of rock mythology right there. 2 incredibly unique artists. They dated for about 2 years, split up in late '79.
And that relationship, or at least that circle of friends, led directly to her breakthrough hit.
It did. Chucky's in Love. Story's great. Their friend Chucky Weiss calls them up one day in '77, totally out of the blue, just to say he's fallen in love.
And she turns that phone call into that song.
Yeah, captures that moment, that cool conversational vibe perfectly. It is the announcement.
which leads to the debut album, Rickie Lee Jones, March 1979. And it wasn't just a hit, it was a moment.
A phenomenon. Number 3 on the Billboard 200, platinum. And Chucky's in Love goes all the way to number 4 on the Hot 100. Just huge.
And look who's playing on it. Dr. John, Randy Newman, Michael McDonald.
Right, that tells you something. She wasn't seen as some small indie artist. She arrived commanding respect, operating at the sophisticated intersection of jazz, rock, pop.
And Youngblood was another hit too, right? Top 40.
Yep, hit number 40 later in 79, so multiple successes right out of the gate.
Then the Grammys in 1980. 4 nominations.
4. Song of the Year, Best Pop Vocal Female, Best Rock Vocal Female for Last Chance Texaco.
And the big one, Best New Artist, which she won.
Exactly. That cemented the critical acclaim, but the real explosion into public consciousness happened even earlier.
The Saturday Night Live appearance, April 79.
That was it. She performs Chuck E.'s in Love and Coolsville. Nobody really knew who she was on that massive scale, and then suddenly everyone did. Overnight sensation, truly.
And the press just ran with it. Time magazine calls her the Duchess of Coolsville after her first pro show in Boston.
The perfect nickname. It captured everything: the voice, the style, the attitude.
And that image gets locked in with the Rolling Stone cover.
August
79. Annie Leibovitz photo.
The iconic one. Crouched down, black bra, white beret. It just screamed unique, authentic, beatnik, cool.
It's interesting, too, that story about Francis Ford Coppola wanting her and waits for the One from the Heart soundtrack right after they broke up.
Yeah, Coppola thought the tension would be perfect for the film's theme, but she declined, said no.
Which says a lot about her, prioritizing her own space over a huge career move.
Absolutely. Waits did it with Crystal Gayle instead, but Rickie Lee, she drew a line.
Okay, so she follows this massive debut with Pirates in 1981, proving she wasn't just a flash in the pan.
Definitely not. Pirates was another critical and commercial success. Hit number 5 on the Billboard 200, went gold.
And Rolling Stone loved it. 5 stars, another cover feature.
They were fully on board, and its reputation has only grown. NPR put it at number 49 on their list of the 150 greatest albums made by women in 2017. It's considered a classic.
But after that success and dealing with the Waits breakup fallout, she kind of steps back again.
Seems like it. She moves from New York to San Francisco, becomes friends with Robin Williams there. Then she puts out The Girl at her Volcano EP in '83.
Mostly covers, right? And self-produced.
Yeah, jazz and pop standards, plus one original Hey Bub that was actually left over from the Pirates sessions. And then she moves to Paris.
For 4 months, just to write.
Exactly. Which sets up this next phase, a period of transition, dealing with loss, pressure, and then finding her way back.
Did that time in Paris, that pressure, shape the next album, The Magazine, in '84?
It feels like it. The magazine, co-produced with James Newton Howard, it's complex. It's got unusual structures like that 3-song suite, Rorschachs.
And musically, it started to shift things. You mentioned synthesizers.
Yeah, minimalist synth patterns, which is a really interesting signpost.
How so? It wasn't the big 80s synth sound.
No, not bombastic. More textural, atmospheric. It shows her already leaning towards electronic soundscapes, away from just the organic jazz band thing. It was subtle, moody, maybe a bit out of step with mainstream 80s pop, but definitely pointing towards future experiments.
But then, after The Magazine, she basically disappears for 4 years. That's a long time for someone at her level then.
It's huge, especially in the MTV era. You just didn't do that. But the reasons were profound. Her father, Richard, died. And her mentor, Bob Reger, died in the same year.
Wow, both at once.
Yeah. So this wasn't like a strategic career pause. It sounds like a necessary retreat. Grieving, processing, figuring things out away from the spotlight.
But she wasn't totally inactive. There was that odd voiceover role.
Right. The 1987 animated film, Pinocchio and the Emperor of the Night, she replaced Shirley Jones as the fairy godmother and sang a song, Love is the Light Inside Your Heart.
The Duchess of Coolsville as the fairy godmother. That's quite a pivot.
It really is. Shows her range, maybe, or just a willingness to do unexpected things.
Then she starts performing again, tours Scandinavia, opens for Ray Charles in Israel. New management with Michael Lang.
Yeah.
And this leads to the big comeback.
Yes, the Flying Cowboys rebirth in 1989, signed to Geffen. And the key move here was Gary Gersh at A&R, pairing her with Walter Becker from Steely Dan to produce.
Okay, Walter Becker, that's a specific sound. Steely Dan is known for that meticulous, sophisticated, jazzy pop rock. Was there a risk pairing her with her looser beatnik image, with someone so polished.
It was definitely a choice, and a risk maybe for her original hardcore fans. But Becker understood complex harmony, sophisticated arrangements, and pop structure. He could give her sound a certain accessibility, a polish, without totally losing her unique voice and jazz instincts.
And commercially, it worked.
Big time. Flying Cowboys eventually went gold, and it had 2 significant singles. Satellites actually hit #1 on the adult contemporary chart.
That's mainstream validation right there, after being away for so long.
Huge. And then there's The Horses, co-written with Becker.
That song just lives on, doesn't it?
It really does. Kenny Loggins covered it. It was huge in Jerry Maguire. And Daryl Braithwaite's cover was a massive #1 hit in Australia in '91. It became this kind of global anthem, showed she could write these incredibly resonant songs.
And this comeback period also brought her second Grammy. Not directly for Flying Cowboys, though.
Right. First, she got a nomination in '89 for Best Jazz Vocal Performance Female for her duet Autumn Leaves with Rob Wasserman on his Duets album.
Okay, still keeping that jazz connection strong.
Absolutely. And then the win came in 1990. For her duet with Dr. John, talk about coming full circle, covering Makin' Whoopee, they won Best Jazz Vocal Performance, Duo, or Group.
So first Grammy for Best New Artist, bridging pop and rock.
Yeah.
Second Grammy firmly in the jazz world.
Exactly. It perfectly underlined her ability to exist authentically in both worlds, or rather to just ignore the boundaries between them.
Which really sets the stage for the 90s, right, where the experimentation just goes into overdrive. Forget commercial expectations.
Totally. The 90s start with Pop Pop in 1991, her first album of all jazz covers, produced by David Was. It felt like a deliberate step away from the polish of Flying Cowboys.
Back to her roots, in a way, but with a twist.
Exactly. It wasn't just playing standards straight. David Was gave it this almost Argentinian flavor, and the song choices were wild. Tin Pan Alley next to Jimi Hendrix's Up From the Skies.
Hendrix on a jazz covers album.
Yeah. It was her saying the Great American Songbook isn't some static museum piece. It includes Hendrix. It includes everything. She's blending high art and counterculture freely.
How'd that go over?
Commercially, it was quieter on the main charts, peaked around 121, but it hit #8 on the contemporary jazz chart. So the jazz audience recognized what she was doing.
And speaking of unexpected connections, the Orb incident.
Oh, yeah, Little Fluffy Clouds, that ambient house classic from 1990. It's built around these prominent samples of a Rickie Lee Jones interview.
Which she didn't authorize.
Apparently not. Her record company objected, led to a legal dispute. It's a funny little footnote, but it highlights that whole early 90s tension sampling culture versus artist control. The jazz chanteuse unexpectedly caught up in the dawn of electronic music sampling.
Her own output kept diversifying, too. Traffic from Paradise in '93, collaborations, covers.
Yeah, worked with Leo Kottke on that one, and famously covered David Bowie's Rebel.
And Bowie loved it.
Said it was his favorite cover of his work, which is just incredible praise coming from Bowie. Apparently, she almost called the album Boys Don't Cry after the Cure song, which she also considered covering.
That album also led to her first live acoustic record, Naked Songs, in '95.
Right. Stripped down versions of her classics, no new songs, just focusing on the core songwriting and performance, really showcasing the strength of the material itself.
Okay, now we get to the big one.
Yeah.
The most radical shift of the 90s. Ghosty Head in 1997. Electronic music.
Monumental leap is right. She worked with Rick Boston on this. And it wasn't just adding a synth line here or there. We're talking beats, loops, electronic textures. The sources specifically connect it to the trip-hop movement.
Trip-hop, like Massive Attack, Portishead, moody, atmospheric, sample-heavy electronica.
Exactly that sound. So imagine going from sophisticated jazz pop or acoustic songs to that. It was a complete sonic reinvention.
How did people react to, well, the Duchess of Coolsville embracing trip-hop?
Critically, people admired the sheer nerve, the artistry. They got that she was pushing boundaries. But commercially,
Right.
yeah, it struggled. Peaked way down at 159.
Which really underscores her whole approach, doesn't it? Art first, commerce second. Or maybe third.
Absolutely. She was following her muse, even if it meant leaving some listeners behind. That artistic curiosity trumped everything.
And then, almost immediately, another pivot. Back to covers with It's Like This in 2000.
Whiplash. From trip-hop back to the Beatles, Steely Dan, Marvin Gaye, Gershwin.
But this time, the covers album approach worked critically again.
It did. Got her 7th Grammy nomination, back in the Best Traditional Pop Vocal Album category in 2001. It's like she could just master these completely different styles whenever she felt like it.
We should also mention that live album from 2001, Live at Red Rocks. There's a touching story about the cover art.
Oh, yeah, the drawing of the flying horses. It was done by a young fan who had tragically died in an accident. Her parents gave the drawing to Rickie Lee at a show, and she decided to use it for the album cover. A really personal, poignant gesture.
And throughout the 90s and early 2000s, her music stayed present in films and TV, too.
Definitely. 30-something, Frankie and Johnny, Jerry Maguire, even House. Her songs just fit certain moods perfectly, and she kept collaborating Lyle Lovett, Mellencamp, Kotke again, Arlo Guthrie.
Okay, so that brings us past 2000, into what feels like another phase, artistic renaissance maybe. More overtly political and spiritual themes start coming through.
Yeah, after Ghosty Head and that burst of activity, she seemed to pull back again for a bit, focused on raising her daughter, Charlotte, tending her garden, just grounding herself.
And that grounding seems to have fueled what came next.
It really feels that way. Because The Evening of My Best Day in 2003 was musically diverse jazz, Celtic folk, blues, rock, gospel, all mixed together, but lyrically, it was incredibly direct, her most political album yet.
The song Ugly Man, being the prime example, aimed squarely at the George W. Bush administration.
Squarely. And she used the music itself as part of the statement. She talked about using the Black Panther horns in the arrangement.
Referencing Hugh Masekela.
Exactly. Masekela's powerful, urgent, sometimes dissonant brass sound that was so tied to the anti-apartheid movement and political struggle. By invoking that specific sound, she wasn't just singing protest lyrics. The music itself was protest. It ends with this call for revolution everywhere that you're not looking, revolution. Very potent stuff.
And the collaborations were still eclectic. Mike Watt from the Minutemen playing bass.
Yeah, on the track It Takes You There. Punk rock, bass legend on this jazzy, politically charged album. It just perfectly encapsulates her refusal to stay in one box.
Then came probably her most conceptually ambitious project, The Sermon on Exposition Boulevard in 2007, based on the words of Christ.
Yes, it stemmed from a project by her then-boyfriend, Lee Cantillon, who had a book called The Words. The initial idea was maybe having artists recite the text over music.
But she took a completely different approach.
A radical one. The sources say it had never been done like this. She didn't just recite, she used the text as a jumping-off point for improvisation. Stream of consciousness. She'd listen to the words and immediately improvise melody, lyrics, her own impressions right there in the studio.
Wow, so it's not interpretation, it's almost channeling, using ancient text as a prompt for spontaneous creation.
Exactly. It's incredibly vulnerable, incredibly risky. You risk alienating religious listeners by being too free, secular listeners by engaging with the text at all. But the result is this raw, immediate, utterly unique piece of musical art. It bypasses traditional songwriting entirely.
Moving into the 2010s, she continued weaving together personal history and new music. Balm in Gilead in 2009.
Yeah, that one felt very personal. Finishing old songs, some dating back to the mid-'80s, like Wild Girl.
And it included that song written by her father.
The Moon is Made of Gold, written by Richard Jones back in 1954. Her recording, it felt like completing a circle, connecting back to those deep family roots. And again, great collaborators, Ben Harper, Alison Krauss, Vic Chestnut.
Then another covers album, The Devil, in 2012, produced by Ben Harper.
Right, including her take on Sympathy for the Devil. And shortly after that, another big life change. She left L.A.
Moved to New Orleans.
Yeah, settling into the heartland of American jazz, which you can really hear in her next album of originals.
The Other Side of Desire, 2015. Her first all-new stuff in 6 years. Steeped in that New Orleans sound.
Definitely. There was even a documentary made about the making of that album, exploring how the city influenced the music.
She kept the covers coming, too, with Kicks in 2019, covering Bad Company.
Yeah, always surprising choices. And she played Glastonbury that year, too, still a major life force.
Which brings us back to Pieces of Treasure in 2023. The Great American Songbook album, that 8th Grammy nomination, still interpreting, still performing at the highest level.
It's an incredible arc. And alongside the music, there's also been this consistent thread of activism, of using her platform.
Right, that web community she started back in 2001, Furniture for the People.
Yeah, explicitly not a fan club, defined as a space for peace and activism. People discussed gardening, politics, exchanged bootlegs. It was about engagement.
And this was before her most overtly political album. So that impulse was always there.
Seems like it. A commitment to connecting her art to broader social issues.
So if we try to wrap our heads around this whole career, the defining trait is just refusal to be categorized. The Grammys alone tell that story.
8 nominations, 2 wins. Best New Artist in 80, Best Jazz Vocal Performance in 90.
But the nominations cover pop, rock, jazz, traditional pop. It's like she deliberately touched every base just to prove she could.
She doesn't belong to a genre. She uses genres like tools or maybe costumes, like you said, to explore whatever idea fascinates her at that moment. That ability to move so fluidly is maybe the ultimate testament to her artistry.
And her memoir, Last Chance Texaco, really provides the key to understanding it all.
Absolutely. It connects the life, the troubadour upbringing, the sudden fame, the retreats, the restlessness to the art. You see why she's so theatrical, why she keeps reinventing herself. It all makes sense through the lens of her life story.
It really brings it full circle back to Peg Leg Jones, the vaudevillian grandfather. That blend of performance, music, storytelling, it's been there all along.
Across generations, from the vaudeville stage to the Venice coffee houses to the polished pop of Flying Cowboys, the electronic experiments of Ghosty Head, the political statements, the spiritual improvisations, that restless theatrical troubadour spirit is the constant thread.
So for you, the listener, what's the big takeaway? What's her lasting legacy?
Well, it makes you ask, how does someone become the Duchess of Coolsville, achieve massive fame, and then stay relevant for 5 decades without just repeating the formula?
Right. She didn't just keep making Rickie Lee Jones Part 2, 3, and 4.
Not even close. She did it by retreating when she needed to, by experimenting constantly, sometimes radically, by embracing change, even using sacred texts for improvisation. That complete commitment to artistic exploration over commercial safety.
That's the legacy, the fearlessness.
That's it, the constant
Right.
self-reinvention. So if you're exploring her music, don't just listen to the debut. Put Flying Cowboys on with that smooth Walter Becker production, then jump straight to Ghosty Head. Hear the contrast. That journey across styles is what makes Rickie Lee Jones truly remarkable.